We start our meetings off with representatives from the Village of Port Jefferson's Code Bureau and representatives from Suffolk County. Unfortunately, we will not have a representative from Suffolk here this evening, but we have Charlie Gennaro from our Code Enforcement Bureau, who's been helping Johnny Barrero, acting chief, and Captain, if you want to come up and take the podium. This allows the residents to ask questions, any questions with regard to public safety. Just know that the meetings are live streamed on our official YouTube station. So when you come, if you have a question, we're asking you to please come up to the podium. Make sure the green button is lit so that not only we can hear you, but the people who are viewing from home can hear. And that way Charlie and the board can address your concerns or questions. So without further, just also tonight is the public hearing for the annual budget. Will be presented by our treasurer with my assistants. And, you know, and after that, the Board of Trustees gives public comment, and then we'll hear from the general public. And I apologize if it might run a little longer than we, sorry, April, but we'll try and keep it succinct and the pace moving forward. So Charlie, do we have any questions or concerns from the general public that you would like to address to Captain Gennaro? Kathleen. So when you come up to the podium, because I do see a lot of new faces, just state your name and address for the record. We have our stenographer over on the left who's taking public record.
Thank you, Kevin. Kathleen Riley, 17 Leeward Lane. I'd like to thank the code officers. Since the last meeting, it's that time of the year where it gets nicer. And in the Highland 6 Acres, there was an encampment. I came home in the afternoon, and there was an encampment I could see. And I called in 5 minutes. It was Officer Scott Barrero and also investigator Manny Baracus. Yes, they were excellent. They came right away. They took down whatever it was. They spoke to the person. They sent them out. And, you know, this person, there was another person that came over from Pax Christi, and this is always a concern. So they were right on it. I called the Suffolk County Police, too, because they documented, apparently. So, but I did not hear back from them. So I just wanted to thank the code. Thank you for being so quick.
Charlie, is your green light on, hon? There you go. And if you could pivot that mic a little,
Okay.
You can bend it towards you if you'd like to.
Number one is we are doing extra patrols to houses of worship and schools. We do patrol checks every tour. We do rail checks from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. when the trains come in. And also there is new metered parking by the Perry lot, so use caution while parking there. It is a metered lot. We also have a license plate reader on one of our vehicles that checks to make sure that all the vehicles, it checks their license plates to make sure everything was within New York standard guidelines and for parking. The other thing is there's been a few break-ins on cars. They've broken into the cars and removed the articles. Lock your cars, please. Don't leave anything in your cars that might let the bad guy know that something's there. Take everything out of the car. Get rid of it. You know, lock it up and make sure it's locked. A good idea might be to put it in a lighted area. Maybe if you want to go all the way, you get a Ring camera, put it in that location too. And that's all we have for tonight. Anybody has anything else, please?
Wow, okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Captain. Thank you for staying the course and working hard and giving good direction to the Bureau. Appreciate it, Charlie. Acting Chief Johnny Barrero is up, unfortunately, at Mather, and just want to extend our well wishes to him and his family. Hopefully a speedy recovery, and he's up and out of there and back home in a timely manner. Okay, so Denise, let's move forward. Barbara, there are copies of the budget in the back of the room. Okay, and we may have, I'm not sure if we had as many copies that are sitting here. Why don't we do Country Club first, since we have the wonderful Mr. Sorry. Tom Natola here. So, is that going to be up on the board? Oh. And do we have copies of the Country Club budget back there as well? Okay. So, Country Club budget. The Country Club is what's known as an enterprise account. It's a standalone. It basically is self-sustains from membership fees, outing fees, guest fees, and golf cart usage fees. So it doesn't really impact the general operating budget. Tom is the new general manager at the facility. So the budget as proposed, Stan is the liaison to the Country Club and operations. And the proposed budget is been presented to the board as recommended by the the Country Club Management Advisory Committee. And the Board of Trustees has had an opportunity to review it. Tom, are there any highlights that you want to... why don't you come up to the podium and introduce yourself, name and address for the record, please. Make sure the green light's on.
I think it is. Tom Natola, I'm the general manager at the Port Jefferson Country Club. Highlights on the budget. Expenses have increased over this current fiscal period to the budget by about $600,000. Expenses are basically for salaried individuals, the addition of a general manager on property, all of our petroleum products, which are used in fertilizers and all, we've seen a 30 to 40% increase. So we've calculated all of that in the budget, but we've also balanced that with revenues between dues revenue and, as the mayor said, outings, guest fees, and cart fees.
Okay. And what are the strengths this year? Tell us what the strengths are in the budget.
The strengths of the budget is membership right now. We have $100,000 in outings already on the books. Membership has come back great. We are just about at last year's levels, and we still have our Florida crew to come back in to join. So revenue-wise, we're strong. Again, we're still in the air a little bit about petroleum-based products, but there's nothing we can do about that right now. Just work with it.
And the season opened yesterday, and everybody's anxious to come back. And
they were there Saturday morning with the 40-degree temperatures, raining and winds, and we actually had people go out and play. So they're devoted. And somebody maybe on the panel might have gone out for a few holes in that as well.
Twice.
You quit while you're ahead.
So the residents know there's a special opportunity reserved for residents only, where if you're not going to join the club, because golf is a hard sport to enter. It's it's a little intimidating. You have to wear fancy clothes, but a resident can get a 6-pack, which is it's an opportunity to play 6 rounds of 18 on the course. How much is that?
$420.
And if you then want to join the club, for the balance of the season, we'll credit that $420 towards your membership. It's a really great opportunity for those of you who are trying to put your toe in the water. I'm not sure I can play that much, or, that was a latecomer to the budget because, it was taken out, and we were like, why did that happen? Our residents need to get up there and try out the course and play a little golf. So that's an opportunity that maybe some of you may not have known about. So I'll open it to the general public. Are there any questions with respect to the Country Club and the budget as presented? Again, a standalone enterprise account, no impact, although, I guess one of the reasons why we have a bond for the golf course renovation and the irrigation system, which when a new member joins the Country Club, they have a capital fee as well, and that goes dedicated to paying back the debt service and going towards capital improvements. They have a nice fund balance also in place. Therefore, we're able to do a lot of really nice things to the course, putting up that safety net at the driving range, helping the golf paths, and doing some bunker restoration. So you're doing a great job up there. Questions, anybody on the Country Club? Okay. Thank you, Tom. Okay, Denise. Denise has been our treasurer for 8 years?
Almost 7.
Almost 7. I have to tell you, in my 14 years of being involved with the village here, Denise has been a fantastic treasurer. She's actually helping us secure more money from New York State in what's known as a CHIPS program. The more roads you pave and sidewalks you repair, the more funding is available from New York State. So she's been doing an excellent job at that, managing the grants. And just want to thank you for the hard work that you put in managing these departments and their little wish lists. And before she starts her presentation, the Board of Trustees and the work sessions, she meets with each department head. We took what was a $1.4 million gap, and we narrowed it down to about $172,000 differential, which is basically, in summation, the loss of revenue from the LIPA power plant. And that's one thing, we cut, we build lines, but we know that glide path is impacting us. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Denise.
Thank you.
Welcome.
This year's budget, our mission was to put it together, was more to maintain a conservative way to do it without putting the burden on the taxpayers. Like the mayor said, we have there's a lot of increases, the inflation, the interest for our bans that we're doing, gasoline, heating oil, all that ties in. We try to do as best as we can to not put the burden again on the taxpayers. So this first page it's the total budget. So last year it's up 7% from last year. How we get to that, the appropriations is our expenses. The revenues are the $4,513,325. So to make, and then our taxes are $6,600,000. To make, it has to be a zero-based budget. So revenues have to equal expenses. So to make it without adding to the tax increase, we took from our surplus. So that $257,882 is from our fund balance. If we didn't, it would have been another 6% tax increase, which we don't want to do.
So the fund balance is at the end of the year, we have closed out successfully, Denise, the last 10 years, 12, 13, 14 years with a surplus at the end of each year.
Approximately $400,000.
So what we do is we'll take some of that money, we'll put it towards paving, we'll put it towards a special project, we'll give some to Dave in Parks in the back of the room, and then we hold some in reserve. So right now the village's fund balance is $1.8 million. That's a good percentage of money to have for the rainy day. And again, because there's sometimes so many variables that can impact you on a year-to-year basis, some of that is appropriated. If it's used, it's used. If it's not, it rolls right back into fund balance.
So as the mayor said, we have a glide path for the LIPA tax bill. It's a difference of $107,856. That's what we lost this year. They also, with LIPA, they have an agreement that they only can increase their taxes. We only can increase their taxes by 2%. So a couple of their properties that we only can increase. So that's another percentage that we have to make up. We have a collective bargaining agreement, which is a 2.75 increase for the personnel. Medical benefits went up 15%, and that's only from January to December, so it's June to December for this budget year. So we don't know what it's going to go up again in January, so we had to prepare for that. The insurance increased, our property insurance, car insurance, 20%, which was, we got it last minute. The ban interest, like I said, the interest rates are crazy, and every year we have to redo the bans. So right now we had, I think it was like 1.9 last year. We redid it in October. We got 3.7. So it's, and that's a lot of money on what we owe. And, pick all the projects we have, the East Beach Bluff and the Oakwood Recharge, that takes a toll on our budget, on our capital budget and on our general budget. So how we do that is we lost a lot of our, a couple of our major personnel where we didn't hire anybody else. So we all took on extra, job descriptions, everything. I'm not going to keep hitting this. So we didn't so we saved that money.
I know you're Italian. Just stop
I know.
using the hands.
I can't. I know. To go together. We also have a fleet management program that offsets costs on the maintenance at our DPW and our code vehicles and our parks vehicles. We maintain our AA bond rating. So that's our budget, our bands and our bonds, how we pay, our fund balance. It goes all into play. Moody's and Standard & Poor's does that. There's a new thing from the state controller's office. It's called fiscal stress. So with our AUD report that we send to them, our budgets, our fund balance, they take into consideration. So there's 4 steps. We're the bottom. So we have no problems. We're 6.3 out of 100, which is excellent. We do all payments and for tax, for court tickets and the events, the recreation center, which saves us time and money. Jesus, in the long run. So that's for. Jeez, I can't do this up here.
Did you? Yeah, go back a slide.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So, and then we secure a lot of grants. Right now we're waiting for 1.6 million to come in. We're working with FEMA to get money for all our capital projects, the bluff and the recharge basin. So we're working on that. So with the inflation, we did a spending freeze for the department heads. They kind of kept tighten their belts, and they kind of followed their budget lines. They didn't go over. There was no, so we're trying to do that to keep it down. The capital projects to maintain, we're working on those. So the overall for our tax increase on an average house of $1,500, it's $75 a year. So it's not horrible. And we're trying to not impact the way of life for our village. Here is the chart. This is all our revenue sources. Oh my God.
Go back to the chart.
No.
Just keep breathing.
I'm just going to keep you. So our source of revenue, as you can see, our property taxes are our major source. Our LIPA tax is our next, which is 25%. Our state aid is one of the higher ones. So you can see all the different areas that we take in our revenues. And if anybody wants this slideshow after, you can email me. Okay, so the bigger picture. I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do line by line, but I'm going to show you what was the bigger impact on the budget. So the revenue, the utilities gross receipt is 1% of all our utilities and cable bills. So that went up this year. The street meters up 12% because as they just passed, Kevin's going to increase the parking. The kayak permits are up 15% because parks made more spaces for the kayaks. The concession, which is a contractual agreement for the vendor up at the country club. And the skating rink is 7% up because of the season being extended to March 31st. The zoning and planning, page 2, sorry, okay. The zoning and planning is up 67% because of all the new construction in the village. The interest earnings are up 90% because last year I was getting, in March of 2022, 0.2% on our money, and now we're at 4.64. So it's increased quite a bit. And we're moving money around and trying to get the best interest rates. The permits are up 21% because, again, new construction, the outdoor dining permits, and the street opening permits. And the last for the revenue is the unclassified revenue is up 50%. That's like credit card charges, and we get rebates, we get refunds. That's where that goes into that line. Okay, so, and this is all what the fund equity is. That's what I showed you before. That's our fund balance. That's to balance the budget on the revenue side. And now we're on expenses. So the biggest expense is the personnel. And the next is all the other.
Sorry, up here. Sorry.
All the other contractual expenses, which are materials and supplies, gasoline, all that, whatever is not in the equipment, the employee benefits, and the leases. And the debt service is also 1.5 million there. Okay, the big impacts of the expenses. On page 3, if anybody's following. Justice Court is down 38%. We had a collections company that was sending out collection reports to people every month. So what we're doing now is our employees are doing that, but the collections agency will start after 3 months. So we're saving there. Traffic violations is down 20%. We had 2 full-timers. We're now doing a part-timer and a full-timer. The treasurer's is down 11%. I had to move expenses because there were a lot of like IT work and stuff. You'll see later on I made a whole new section for all that. So that's why it's down that much. And the assessor is up 17% because that's one of the lines I took from the treasurer. What he does is the, what is it called? The tax,
Certiorari?
yeah, you could say the word.
Tax certiorari cases. So she just moved that from
I
the
just moved from the
treasurer's line
treasurer
to
to
the
the
assessor's line. It's really no increase, just an offset.
What line?
Certiorari.
Okay, so page 4 of the budget. The village clerk is down 7%. We did have an administrator working here. So when he left, we all split up the duties, and we saved that money. The village engineer, we did not replace also. That's down 70%. So the village prosecutor, Rich Harris, took over that responsibility. The village hall is down 19%. We had a maintenance mechanic person where we didn't fill his shoes. And the special items is up 19%. That is our insurance. And that's really all that went up. The MTA tax, municipal expenses stayed the same, but it's our insurance. Okay, on page 5, on-street parking went up 11%. We moved a full-time clerk typist down to that department from another department. So that's the only why that went up.
So
Oh, you wanna?
they moved from here to here.
Right.
Go back one more slide, Denise.
Sure.
And safety inspections, that's up 18%. What?
That's personnel. That's,
Okay.
they hired, they have the 2 building inspectors now.
Okay.
They have the zoning, we have the new zoning full-time in there,
Okay.
so. The only thing on page 6 is street lighting is up 20%, where we budgeted to do more repairs for the wiring. And the programs for the elderly is up 73%. We're adding more senior projects, but we are also trying to get $20,000 from the county for, as a grant. We get $10,000 now, we're trying to get $20,000. So hopefully that comes through, but, okay. So page 7, the recreation's up 31%. What I did was the camp counselors were coming out of beach. It's always been that way, so I moved them up to the recreation where they should be.
So it's just an offset here.
Yeah, that's the same. And the beach is down 34% because of the same reason. Celebrations is up 36% on the firework pricing going up and the purchase of Christmas decorations or decorations around the village. Okay, and the only other, so is nothing really substantial here. Just going down the street, we just cut some of the expenses that weren't being used. And this is where the debt service is up 79%. This is the interest rates that are just astronomical when we have our bands come up. So that's what the big one for 79%. And here's all our bonds and bands. See the interest rates, it's 1.2. We used to be 1.2, 1.9, and now we're at 3.7 for that band, and that's up in October. And the 950 we just did in August.
This is for the Oakwood
Recharge.
recharge
That's
basin.
being covered by FEMA, though.
Yeah, so we always, with these FEMA projects, we always have to pay it,
Yeah,
and then we
pay
get
it out.
reimbursed, and it comes off the books.
And that band, the 5.2 for the Bluff, that's coming up April 26th. We're going to close on that. So hopefully it doesn't go up that much.
Okay.
And so these are our capital projects that we completed this year. The paving, like the mayor has said, with the CHIPS reimbursement. Station Street has been done. We took a ban out for that, but we're waiting for grant money. The DPW expansion, we took out a ban, but will be paid back by grant. Rocket Ship Park bathrooms to be paid by the grant. The recharge basin, we just said, we took a ban out, 950, paid by FEMA. East Beach Bluff, the lower half is a ban. And digitalization of the records is being reimbursed also from a grant. And then the upcoming projects, again, paving and sidewalks. The upper half that we're getting our congressional grant. The Rocket Ship Park walkways, our grant, and we're going to use whatever the grant doesn't cover. We're going to use our ARPA money that the federal government gave us. The Harbor Front Park walkways is also grant, and whatever we're not covered, we're going to use that. And 49 Sheep Pasture is a grant, and the 6-acre park, we collect parkland fees from the apartments
Developers.
developers. And that covers basically everything up there.
So there's a lot going on, you'll know, but with most of the capital projects, you know, we do seek granting agencies, county, town, federal and state. Unfortunately, those projects we have to usually, with 95% of them, we have to pay for those projects and can't get reimbursed. And as that money rolls back in, it gets applied towards paying down. A ban is a bond anticipation note. So it's a method of borrowing money temporarily until you get the grant, and then you pay back the note before it becomes a bond.
That's 5 years.
It's the only way we can do the projects. We don't want to take that money from the operating account because you don't budget that way. So I'll open it first. With the Board of Trustees has seen the budget for probably at least a couple weeks now, and they've had opportunity to meet with the treasurer's office. We did a workshop at the last board meeting. And I hopefully if there are questions or concerns from the audience, we can all answer them effectively together. And Rebecca, does any board member have a comment before we go to the public? Oh, Kathy Ann, and then I'll go to Rebecca.
Quick question. On page 4, under expenditures, village clerk,
Okay.
there's a 7% savings, and you said that was because the position not being replaced, so that was the salary.
Yeah.
Was there a savings in the health insurance for that employee?
No, the last employee had a buyback, so he got the 6,000 for buyback.
And the buyback is in that 7% then?
It's in the medical. Because we
It
took out
also-
that buyback from the medical lines, but it
Got
went
it.
up so high, doesn't even show.
So medical across the board went up
15%.
15%?
This January went up, so
Okay.
next January is half of our 5 months of our next fiscal year, so we don't know what's going to go up. It could be,
So
I
that
budgeted for a higher percentage, so,
And that was significant.
yeah, that's big.
Relatively
It's usually
speaking.
like 3%, 4%. In
And it was-
my 28 years, I've never seen it that high.
Okay, thank you.
Rebecca.
I had one recommendation for the budget under the payroll schedule. We have budgeted $50,000 for an
Do you
assistant.
have a page or is that on a worksheet?
It's a worksheet.
Okay.
Well, it's on the
it's-
salary schedule.
Yeah, it's in. Yeah, the second. Thank you, Lauren. Second to last page of the document. So I have had conversations with staff to better understand where sort of this money was moved from, and as you know, we've all been hearing there's personnel who are leave, and then other jobs are taken on by others, and I understand all of this. I know that our clerk, who I would say is worth her weight in gold, but she doesn't weigh enough to make that statement worthwhile. She's really does so much for the village here, and I was very glad to support a deputy clerk for Barbara to take some off of her desk there. But Barbara does act in part as assistant to the mayor. There's also sort of contractual contractors that we have to cover some of these roles. And so in thinking and speaking further to this, what we don't have as a strong component of the village staff might be a grant writer. And so I would like to propose splitting that $50,000 budget item to have $25,000 go towards an assistant to the mayor if that role should be elected to be appointed by the incoming mayor, and then budget $25,000 for a grant writer so that our village can have someone who is more focused on getting grant monies to do all of these projects and cover everything that this village wants to accomplish.
We do have a line, we have a grant writer right now
Right.
in other economical development. So we could take, where it goes, if you get a new one, if you want with it, whatever, we had that money
Sure.
budgeted, just to let you know that's in that line.
Yeah, I know we have an hourly grant writer, but I think just having and should that happen, should we be able to fill the role of a part-time grant writer? I just think as looking forward, this is something that we've all said in numerous projects that we'd love to see a grant writer, part-time, really devoted instead of hourly, sort of between us and a million other projects.
So grant writers usually do act as independent contractors. So to
Right.
get one on staff, but we can add it to the job description that they have experience, and also, as we discussed, when the grant is awarded, there's always an administrative line in that grant. So to help pay the cost of administrating the grant, which goes to the grant writer. But that's a great suggestion. I have no challenge with that whatsoever. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, quick question. Two questions, actually.
It's a worksheet, but it's, so. Go ahead.
On page 1 of the revenues, I just have a general question that's always sort of had me wondering about concessions. A2012 line, A2012.
Yep, got it.
Page 1 of
Page 1 of revenues. Page 3 in.
And it's concessions, and it is the revenue that is generated by the rental of the country club catering and restaurant facility and the turn. And I just wondered, in general, why this line item is not included in the country club revenue budget.
The village owns the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So we paid for the maintenance out of general fund, and we pay the insurance and everything else. So that's why it stays in the general fund.
That was the original agreement struck 20 years ago by the administration that that revenue line would stay in the village's operating account. It's a good discussion.
Yeah, my past village, they did the same thing. It stayed in the general.
So
You trying to give our money away, Lauren?
no, well, we're all one big happy family, but the village center generates rental income as well, but that goes under the village center's line item. So, but it's still used as revenue by the village. So I'm just wondering if there's any way to sort of look at that number a little bit more closely, to look at the maintenance or as needed of the facility up there, where needed, where the food and beverage vendor concessionaire does not pay for certain things. If they do not, then we can use that money as like a maintenance sort of bucket.
The only thing that the village is responsible at that building is for the roof. So, if we need a roof, then
We come out of general.
we'll have to, you'll figure out where to take
Just-
it out of. But on an operating level, this money is great to remain in help pay for the operating budget of the entire village. But that, according to the contract,
We're all hitting our microphones.
according to the
tonight.
contract, the only thing we're responsible for up at the Port Jefferson Country Club facility is the roof itself.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. And then the other question I had is, on our current, I think, employee list, we have a part-time, permanent public relations director. Has that position I don't see on this list, is that no longer, is that
What title? Part-time?
public relations director?
Had a title.
Well, it's Charmaine's position right now. So is she's getting paid out of what line moving forward?
She's in the clerk's line.
Okay.
But she's not identified in this payroll schedule?
Should be, but I was just left off because part-time. I would just have to list her with the hourly.
Oh, okay, so you're paying her hourly instead of a full-time. These are full-time positions?
No, there's some part-time, I just have to put it on.
Okay.
List it off.
So is that another,
it's
is there
budgeted.
another number? It's covered?
Yeah, it's covered. Everything's covered. No, the payroll sheets I gave you, the spreadsheets that we went over, she's on there. That position's on there.
So you just have to add her to the sheet, but she's incorporated.
The schedule.
Okay.
So
Sorry
at
for that.
1410, at a 1410, there would be an extra line, public relations director, under the clerks, okay.
Yeah, it's the part-time line that was very gold.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board before we move to the general public? Okay, great. Open it up to anyone from the floor who might have a question with respect to the general operating budget. Hey, Rob Larrabee, if you could come to the microphone, please. Sorry, buddy. And state your name and address for the record.
Bob Larrabee, 214 Maiden Lane. Just two quick questions on page 1 under revenues. An acronym I don't recognize, A1741, line item pileup,
Payment in lieu of parking.
payment in lieu of parking. Oh, okay. And number, on the second page, A2302, under revenue, snow removal services.
So we have a contract with BID, the Business Improvement District.
So you,
So we bill them and they pay.
okay. All right, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? A question on the budget? Zena?
All right. Hi,
Hey,
Zena Ugrinsky, 2 Rosita Lane.
thank you.
So first of all, Denise, I, applaud the amount of work that goes into this, and so I pulled it down recently. And to the board, I think you guys have done a great job in terms of the capital projects funding with FEMA and finding ways to fund that. I think that's really important. So after going through the numbers a little bit, I was just curious. So the tax increase is about 137,500, which is a 2.13% increase. I was just wondering, last time in the public meeting, we passed an override of the tax cap, and which at the time I didn't understand. So I'm asking, is there any relationship between those two things?
Yeah, absolutely. So the state has mandated a 2% cap on all municipalities. School districts are exempt. They, in fact, don't have to calculate their capital improvements into the budget calculation that we do, which is sort of disingenuous because you would want us to repair our roads and brick and mortar. Nevertheless, we are bound to vote the board prior to the public hearing or adoption of a budget whether or not we choose to elect to pierce the tax cap, because our budget would require us to pierce that tax cap. Attorney Egan, I wish he was here because his recommendation to the board is, because the budget's still in evolution at that time, to vote to pierce the tax cap. And the only reason for us here as this community, we are impacted by the glide path of the LIPA power plant closing. It's impossible for us, without raising taxes to a certain extent, to continue to meet that budget gap. So that's something that, is impacting us and will continue to until, either the plant closes or is repowered or the contracts are extended. So we, as you can see, we chisel down. We don't rehire where we can actually spread out the responsibilities of that particular employee. And so this budget now is a 2.13 increase. And so therefore, if we had not adopted that resolution to pierce the tax cap, we would not be able to adopt this budget.
Okay.
Did that
So,
answer your question?
Yeah, I have a follow-on to that.
Okay.
So if I think about, and just to segue off of what you said about the power plant, right?
Yeah.
So we know that we're getting lower and lower revenues from that every year.
Mm-hmm.
From a budget management perspective, doesn't it make sense to try for as flat a budget as we can achieve? And here's
Yep,
well,
go-
let me.
I can answer that, yes, but
Yep,
go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree. So.
But can I answer that can I?
Let me finish the
Okay,
question.
go ahead.
So the question is, if I think about a $137,000 increase to the taxes on the residents, and the delta to keeping a budget flat is about $778,000, right? That's the increase over last year, 778. Between the bringing down the taxes or keeping the taxes flat and reducing expenses by that, and then the remaining $500,000, is there any way we could revisit the budget to try and balance it?
So the challenge that I have with that is, yes, we'd love to, but I think what just happened is we just got the bill for the medical and health, and it went up 15%. So and we're not going to get the next one till January. So it's, to a certain extent, it's not possible for us to be able to budget for a perfectly flat-lined budget. Our insurance company just handed us that insurance bill. When? When did you get that? Yeah, and that was after we had done the budget workshop. So I'm not. We closed a $1.4 million gap and brought it down to $137,000 and said, listen, I can't cut services or personnel. I got to keep certain things status. And, at some point, we all knew that the LIPA power plant was going to impact this community. I can't cut to the bone and into the tendon as hard as Matt.
And every percent is only $42,000, so, because we can't touch the LIPA bills. So for $42,000, you have, with that difference that we had, revenue versus expenses, we had to do the increase.
Just a question, is the village able to shop around for insurance, sort of like
We have.
individuals? Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Can I ask a question too on that? We are spending, is it all right if I ask a question, Mayor Grant?
Sure.
Okay. We are spending a lot of money on engineering consultants. Is there an opportunity to sort of soften the, look towards the use of consultants versus bringing those positions either as rather than a big firm, like looking at individual consultants to work with us on some of the projects that we are, monitoring?
So every time we hire a consultant, we usually go get a bid or an estimate or a proposal from them. I think the consultants are used to really bootstrap and suspender us on engineering projects and other things that require legal analysis. So, I think we have a budget line of $40,000 for in engineering consulting fees. I think that's about as low as you're going to get for a year's worth of engineering consulting fees. So Mr. Harris, who doesn't have a planner in the building and planning department, we're hiring them to help us move our applications forward in that department. But I think we answered the question, right? I mean, or you have more?
That's actually, I'd like to pile on to Lauren's question, right? Because that was the next question I had. So we used to have a full-time engineer
Mm-hmm.
that was responsible for reviewing, bids and, just sort of project management from an engineering perspective, not from a project management perspective. It seems to me after 6 months of sitting in the board meetings, the Board of Trustee meetings, that I've just watched a parade of change requests come through, and I wonder if the village would not have actually spent less overall if we still had a full-time engineer on staff than some of the CRs that I see come through.
So the last time the village had a village engineer was Kevin Kubek, who, when he left employment, went to work at Mather Hospital and left. The title remained, but the person who filled that role was not an actual engineer that could stamp or review or, do analysis in the field for engineering purposes. So we found that, for instance, the engineers, they're coastal engineers that are doing the bluff, and we have climate engineers who are doing flood mitigation. So we go to each one of these engineers or architectural engineers who are doing structural review. We could look for a full-time engineer. You're probably, in this marketplace, Barbara, probably looking at least $150,000 a year for a full-time engineer. So, that's something that the board can contemplate moving forward.
Okay. And then my last question is, I appreciate the fact that this was published on the Port Jeff site. Is there access to sort of the underlying detail spreadsheet, like Excel based, or?
You can file it. File it at the clerk's office.
Okay. So do I see Barbara?
Online, there's a FOIL request. You could just download that and then fill it out, and then you'll give it to the clerk's department.
Okay.
I have it on, so I could just give it to you.
Ah, good.
Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Anna.
Anna Khazanova, 102 Hawthorne Street. Thank you very much for this budget presentation. I just witnessed you guys discussing the increase of the parking fees from 50 cents on Monday, Thursday to $1 Monday, Thursday per hour, and then on Friday and Sunday from $1 to $1.50. I'm trying to wrap in my head the numbers on the page 1 of the document that I have here. It says that on-street parking meter fees, actuals of 531 is 495,000.
That was, they had them shut off for most of the year because of COVID. So to help the business district, we didn't collect fees. So it kind of, now it's starting to rise up because now it's the regular season. So that's why
And-
that's so low.
Right, and that number is just the revenues
Yes.
for the parking. And then the fees from the parking on the page 5, it says the proposed budget is 216,000 plus change. For the proposed budget, that's the minus number. So eventually we will have about 300,000 surplus.
Actually, put that to our capital fund at the end of the year. I'll do the payroll, do the benefits, I'll do all that, and whatever's left over goes to the parking capital.
There has been some discussion about whether the parking committee should be reinstated. And for a number of times, particularly Michael Mart has been pointing out that the town of Brookhaven has much larger fees across the street. So my question, given that we have a shortfall in the budget and that have issues with the neighbors who charge as much as they do, and our business district, at least as per Trustee Snaden's report, want higher parking, is there a reason why we wouldn't consider increasing the parking fees even more in order to increase that number?
I would not recommend. We are in April and we are proposing an increase for May, and if this budget is now done, I would rather have the input from the business improvement district in that community for an increase for the next parking season instead of something that's thrust upon them now, because they've already kind of digested that 50-cent increase. We got no communication from the town when they came and said that they're going to be charging $5 an hour in the parking lot across the street. That level of communication would be good because that would help us plan and coordinate. Kevin is very engaged with the community. We do a quarterly meeting with the chamber and the bid. And we just had a robust go around with them in an email back and forth. And, we still want to be a very tourist friendly village to help support them. But rely on the community, listening to the community, the Business Improvement District, and on Kevin for future recommendations.
So we're then looking forward to having a parking committee reinstated?
I will leave that to the next administration to determine,
Thank you.
as I reported. You're welcome. Mr. Giuliano.
Bob Giuliano, 121 Row Lane. Denise, again, fantastic job once again. So, just one quick question about the fund balance. You said it's 1.8 million. Is that before money was taken out for the 2.57?
Correct.
In the economic times being as they are, do you think maybe we could take a little bit more out of that 1.8 and maybe break it down to 1.65 million and then use the extra 140,000 to cause no
You
tax
know, Bob, I
increases?
like my fund balance, right?
I know, and all villages do.
So, 'cause,
I know that.
I mean, there's things are so expensive now, and you know we are taking some of that and putting it towards this budget for that relief valve. You know, you can go through 1.8 real quick if you have a bad storm down here or something else. So that again, you guys can decide moving forward, but I think the auditors are comfortable with that number. It took us a long time to build to that, and as I said, every year, as you know, we've practiced taking some of that surplus at the end of the year, putting it towards parking it, putting it towards the drama. You know, we split it up to help, you know, offset the lines that we don't have in the operating budget. But I appreciate that, and I'm going to say no.
Something to think about, just to
Quick
be
follow-up,
open.
Bob. Does the New York State Office of the State Controller, do they require a certain amount to be in the fund balance? Not for village.
School district has a limit.
Okay,
There's a recommendation.
It's a recommendation.
just a recommendation. What
And
is
we're
that?
right
Is
at
that
that
a percentage
recommendation.
recommendation?
Yes, a percentage. I don't
I think it's like around 17% or something, so we're right there.
I stumped Denise.
It's like 20%, but
Okay.
I could have just said 20%.
Yes, you could have.
And does that have anything to do with our rating? Yeah. So a higher balance means better rating for going out for money. Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you. Anybody else on the budget? Michael?
Good evening.
Evening.
Thank you very much for a very good presentation. Michael Mart, 205 Bayview Terrace, Port Jefferson. Just one question. What is the average tax assessment or valuation of the taxpayers' properties?
Assessed valuation or monies collected?
That which our taxes are based, the assessed valuation of our homes. What is the average assessed valuation of our homes?
Can't give you that number off the top of my head. I can tell you that the average tax collected, because the assessed valuation is going to vary, the average tax bill collected is probably around $1,200 a year.
But what is so how do we find out the average tax valuation? It was up on the board at, I think, 1,500. Okay.
I can get it for you.
It was shown as 1,500 here.
Yeah, as an average.
That was a
That's
low
what
one.
I did for the budget, just
Right.
to say. That's
So yes, if you could get me that, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Your information or,
Okay, you have my contact information?
do you guys want to see that?
Barbara will have it.
Barbara knows me. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions with respect to the budget? And with that, we will close the public hearing. It's a motion made. Is there a second? Seconded by Trustee Laux. All in favor? Aye. I'm going to make a bold move to approve the budget as presented by the treasurer with that one recommendation on the worksheet made by Trustee Cassay. Is there a second?
I'm sorry, can you just remind us, what is it going to say, the worksheet change?
We're going to add the part-time PR, and we're going to say mayor's assistant / grant writer.
And those are 2 part-time jobs?
That's going to be up to you, the next administration to determine, do you want that line item for this person or that person?
So
Or both.
breaking that out to two $25,000 lines.
Yeah, I mean, the money's in the budget. You can figure out how you want to spend it.
Okay, just,
Thank you.
Okay?
that's how it'll read now? Okay.
Motion to, so there's a motion standing, and the second was Trustee Snaden. All in favor? Aye. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so quick trustee reports. Get to the public and woohoo. I'll start with Rebecca. We're going to start with you on the far left.
Thank you. And thank you again, Denise. Just super quick, because we have lots of folks in the room, I'm sure, would like the time. The Climate Resilience Public Workshop is here in this room this Wednesday, April 5th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock. I know I've received a couple of emails of residents who read TBR's great article about this general climate effort and the upcoming workshop. They were distressed that they could not, for one reason.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Denise. You're welcome. Thank you, Denise.
They were distressed for one reason or another. They could not make it. We acknowledge that this is the first day of Passover and wish everyone celebrating a happy Passover. But the committee, having chosen this date, realized that there would always be conflicts, whether it be holidays, work conflicts, mobility issues of people not being able to leave their homes. And so we're really glad to work with Kevin Wood to be sure that this climate workshop will be recorded in the same way that our Board of Trustees meetings are recorded. So you could go on the Village YouTube page, at 8 a.m. and with your bowl of cereal and watch, the recording. You could, whatever at anyone's convenience. And in addition, there will be a survey that is virtual, a Google Form survey that is related to this workshop that will have the link there in the YouTube page so that anyone who's watching from home, either live or within 30 days of the workshop, can fill out that survey and as such, not miss any part of the interactive collection of community input from having watched seen the workshop and then being able to let the village know your direction that you would like to see your community go in regarding climate resilience. So anyone's welcome to come here. I love that I have the fear that we might have a packed house, here for a science program. So again, if you would prefer to, watch it from the comfort of your home or watch it any time, it will be available indefinitely on the village page, but it will have a 30-day window to take that survey before we close the survey out and analyze the results. In the survey, there's a section for questions. Myself, the committee, and the architectural firm and engineers working on this will address all the questions. So that's all I'm going to share tonight.
Thanks, Rebecca. Spoken like a true wonk. And Rebecca, can you do me a favor? Kevin, will this remote turn off the projector screen? Yes. Okay, thank you. Trustee Laux, although has a surrogate reading his report.
I do apologize. I'm one of those guys that played 2 holes of golf on Saturday and got rained out. So I had a lot of time Saturday to write an extensive report. However, I had eye surgery this morning and I can't read the report.
Thanks, Kevin.
I'm going to pass that responsibility over to Deputy Mayor Snaden.
Okay, Stan's board report for April 3rd. Parks Department, good news. We will be reopening East Beach for the coming summer. With the opening, all of the normal activities at the beach will be returning. Trustee Shepro will tell us a little more about some of those activities. The lottery for spaces at the Village Kayak Racks took place today, and those residents that put in their applications will soon be notified as to whether they received a rack or not. And if so, the notification will include your location. Just a reminder, you are allowed to place 2 close to equal-sized vessels on your rack. However, both will need a permit that should be displayed on the bow or front. The bathrooms at East Beach will have a new look. The Parks Department has replaced the sinks, the faucets, installed new hand dryers, new lighting, and reconstructed the partitions between the stalls. They will be putting a fresh coat of paint on the entire interior as soon as the weather is more consistently warm. Over at the West Beach, since we have future plans to change the bathrooms, we will simply be doing a cleaning and applying a fresh coat of paint. There has been some concern about the shower at West with some electric static. We had PSEG come in to install a new pole with new grounding, new electric box, and meter, so we hope to have solved that problem. The department will be pouring a concrete base for a water fountain at Caroline Joe Erlin Field. That should happen this week, and the fountain will be ready for the opening of softball. The location of the fountain is immediately adjacent to the Barnum Avenue parking lot. And I'll just add that that's a 3-way fountain with a dog watering station, a regular water fountain, and a water bottle filler, all in one unit. The country club, the golf course opened on Saturday with limited play because of the rain. However, as the day progressed and the sky cleared, we saw a good number of players enjoy a round of golf. Those that played were surprised to see the many improvements to the course. Last summer's drought had caused a lot of damage to the course and was hardly noticeable, and with the warm weather coming soon, the course will show great improvement. I want to thank Pat Sullivan, our superintendent, and Jeff Willishar, our assistant, for all their hard work through the winter and very early spring. I also want to thank Tom Natola, our new general manager, who has, in a very short time, brought many new ideas to our country club. This past Saturday evening, we had a welcome back members party in the main clubhouse. I believe we had somewhere around 150 members attend. We served appetizers, had a drink, gave out many door prizes, and had a lot of great conversations. We hope to have many more social gatherings this year. Everyone that attended received a new member handbook that contained information from A to Z about their club. The instructional video that we produced and sent out has been viewed by over 75% of our members in a very positive way. I would like to emphasize that the restaurant facilities at the country club are not private. The name has been changed to the Grill Room. There is a new menu and new management. I recommend that you give it a try. One final announcement for anyone who is interested in being a part of the country club scene: you do not have to be a golf member. We have other memberships that can include the fitness center, the driving range, the practice facility, and the social events. If you are interested, please stop by the Pro Shop and talk to Danielle, our membership administrator, or Tom Natola, our new general manager. And that concludes Mr. Laux' report.
Thank you, Stan.
You're very welcome, Mayor.
Stan. Trustee Shepro.
Okay, I just want to add on a little bit to Trustee Laux' report with regard to the social atmosphere up at the country club now, and the way that the food and beverage concessionaire has the Danfords folks, TPG. There's so many names, but they're our concessionaire partner. They really put a great effort into creating a really amazing night on Saturday night, and with obviously the help of Mr. Natola, who used to work for them, so he was intimately familiar with the way the organization operated, and he was able to really influence the success of that evening, that night. There was live music, there was a robust cocktail reception, and, you know, quote unquote, from Mr. Natola, people were out on that balcony on the second floor overlooking the Long Island Sound before the weather changed, and they were saying that they had never been out on that balcony before and didn't really even know it was there. So that, if that's an indication of how our season's going to go and how the membership will be welcomed by the concessionaire, our partner there, we have a great summer season, golfing season to look forward to. And I think that, as Trustee Laux said in his report, residents should feel welcome to go up to that restaurant and enjoy it, and they will be treated like members. They won't get the 15% discount that you would get if you were a member, but you will be treated very respectfully and with open arms. They have a new manager up there. Her name is Jenna Davey. And when my party went into the restaurant, she didn't even know who we were. She just walked up to us, introduced herself, asked us to introduce ourselves, and that's the first time in 3 years that ever happened. So go up there, take a look. It opens officially. That was a soft opening this weekend. They wanted to test their menu items, which I can tell you there were a lot of very successful items on the menu, and the cocktail menu is very nice, and the dessert menu is amazing. But it opens officially on Wednesday, and they're open Wednesday through Sunday for lunch and dinner. So that, I also wanted to report that the Parks and Recreation Advisory Council has met several times now, and this past meeting, the council decided to have a vote for a chair, and Rima Potter was selected as the chair of the advisory council. So this council has been very active in making recommendations to both our parks and recreation departments. You heard some of those changes and those updates in Trustee Laux' report, in terms of the bathrooms being updated, some work done on Joe Orland Field, and it's just been a really robust. There's been some really robust conversations, sometimes a little out of control, but we're finding our way, and I think it's basically a new. It's really they're taking their role very seriously, and I think we'll see some really nice results as a result in the way the Parks and Recreation programs run in the future. It's just really nice to have resident feedback in real time to the things that are going on. And I think, yeah. We also met with Port Jeff Rowing, who is not affiliated with the Village of Port Jefferson, but they do they utilize East Beach over off of Centennial Park for their program. And it's a very inclusive program. They have a lot of great interest in from the residents and beyond. And so we're working with them again to renew and update their permit, which had sort of gone by the wayside since COVID hit. So we're revisiting that. And that's the extent of my report.
Thank you, Lauren. Deputy Mayor Snaden, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd first like to thank our code department. These guys during this transition have been fantastic. I'd like to thank the officers who have stepped up to fill in any gaps where needed and continue to do a fantastic job to keep our community safe. So Officer Karachi is in the room tonight, and just want to thank you for your service and all that you do for this community. Thank you. Along the lines of public safety, one of the things I've been working on for quite some time now, but I need to have it revisited, is the pickup and drop-off situation at the middle school, high school along Old Post Road. I met up there with the administration, with our village attorney, Rich Harris, as well as our superintendent of highways, Steve Gallagher, and some school administration, and we brainstormed some ideas up there as to see what would be best. If anybody's not familiar with that area, when the new bus stop sign law came into effect in the state, it didn't allow for cars to pass by in the circle where you'd normally go and pick up your child and then just go by the buses as they were parked. While the buses are parked and those signs are out, you cannot pass them, so people kind of get stuck and it gets backed up. So they've taken it upon themselves to pick up and drop off along Old Post Road, and there is no rhyme or reason to what's done. There's U-turns, there's kids crossing the street, there's cars pulling out, cars pulling in, trucks turning around. It's really an unsafe situation. So we need to bring that back up, and I'm going to revisit that with the school district very soon. Right nearby there is Brook Road. We've had multiple complaints about the speeding on Brook Road. As you know, the baseball field, the football field is along that road. When there are games, often people will park along the street. There are speed bumps or speed tables down on that road, but people tend to speed, especially at the pickup and drop-off times in that area. So I've met extensively with Rich Harris and Steve Gallagher on what can we do that's cost-effective, that's safe, that's going to help in the situation. And those ideas, a lot of it is included in that is painting the roadways, narrowing the roadway, painting a median type pattern, if you will, in the center of the road, as well as shoulders and walking areas, is the kind of quickest, easiest, most cost-effective way to get the project started. As we progress, I've been working with Trustee Cassé on more walkability in the village, and I've suggested that location as one of the test locations. So we're going to progress with that. But what we can do in-house, quickly, easily, cost-effectively, I want to get that done, as well as also placing the speed trailer there as soon as we can get that out and running for the season. Loretta Gate is another roadway intersection that we've had complaints about. It's very hard to make a turn because when you look left, there are trees in the way. There was some brush. Unfortunately, the area that we thought we could handle ourselves in removing some of the shrubbery to increase the line of sight, it turns out with our due diligence that it's all Brookhaven property. We're not even allowed to put up signs for the roadway, speed signs, nothing. It's not our property. So we're working with the town of Brookhaven to get done what's necessary in that area. So all that being said, if you have any issues in your neighborhood, safety, speed, please let me know, and I will add it to the list of areas that we're working on. I'll move on to the Building and Planning Department. I've been working with Richard Harris, our attorney up there, to simplify the process of obtaining a building permit for our residents. It seems like there's a recurring theme of individuals going up there, submitting all of their paperwork, hearing, okay, this is great, we have everything that we need, and then being contacted again and hearing, well, we need this, 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 and this. So we've worked on creating this flow chart, if you will, with kind of, if this, then this, and you move to the next section and how to get to that end goal of getting your permit. So we were able to provide that to our new resident night. So that's available to anyone who wants that. And I'm not sure it's been put up on the website yet, but I'm going to make sure that goes under the building and planning on the website, so it's easily accessible there. You've probably heard about our new initiative I've been working on with Kevin Wood for quite some time now. We are calling it Passport, and that's the shared ride service for our village residents. We beta tested that the entire last month, the month of March, made the adjustments where necessary. Kevin's been fantastic in spearheading that project and getting it up and running. The testing went very, very well. We're hoping to open soon. We're waiting for some legal contracts back and forth with the car company, the rental company, and once that's ready to go, then will be an announcement as to a start date on that. So we're really looking forward to that for this season. Quickly, if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's a car service. You have an app on your phone. You call the vehicle. It picks you up, brings you downtown. You can visit the restaurants, the stores, just walk around, do whatever you please, and get a ride back home. A small fee would be charged to the passenger, but it allows you to come downtown, not have to worry about finding parking, and then leaving parking open for others that do not live in the village. So I think it's a win-win for everybody, and I'm looking forward to that starting. And I'm continuing ongoing meetings. I always welcome residents to contact me with any issues or concerns. I'm a face-to-face kind of person. I don't love emails or text messages, but if I hear from you, I'd love to set up a time that we can meet. I have residents come in and meet with them in the conference room, hear their concerns, and then, get done what's needed to be done. So I welcome that at any time, and that concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you, Kathy Ann. I'm going to go right to, very importantly tonight, I see a lot of new faces. I want to congratulate Anna and the rest of the members of the board of the newly formed civics. The Board of Trustees did this evening rescind the resolution that we passed at the last board meeting. We meant no harm in passing that resolution. We always love hearing from you. And in doing that, you're going to allow you to, or not allow you, they want to hear more from you. We've discussed at the board meeting the impacts of renting machines or buying machines, or the Board of Elections concerns about they're not giving us machines for our June elections. And the reason for that is those elections take place so close to the primaries that they don't have time to reset those machines. So that's why they're not giving us machines for the June elections. Board of Trustees, legal, our clerk, they're going to continue to look into it. We're going to do what we can to help support the clerk and our election process. Rebecca, the board members here are going to work with the civics and others to listen to what you folks have to say about that. You're free to give us, your opinion or ask more questions this evening. That's a good start. But I just, we wanted to kind of say sorry and take a giant step backwards and let that conversation continue to take place in this community. So with that, I will open it to public comment. And thank you all for coming tonight. It's great to see so many new faces in the audience.
Mayor, I'm just going to add, just for clarity,
Sure.
I'm going to be researching the precedent that has come to light in the last week or so of Brookhaven and Southampton, I believe, to see what their process was as far as forming committee and collecting public input and looking into all of these facets. So please, look probably to the next meetings. We want to get this going and get those, while everyone's has it on mind. We'll be talking more about the process of helping to gather resident input and really handing it to the residents to make these these recommendations to the Board of Trustees.
Mr. Robinson.
Mark Robinson, 27 Thorn Lane. Want to know why the parking lot is half resident and half public? I want it all resident.
The one behind the village hall here. Okay?
You got a parking lot on the other side of Barnum that's free. I think you ought to make that one for village residents only. That's the first thing. Still having a problem with the box on Thorn Lane and North Country Road. You know, anybody who does something and tells you they do it is a load of bull.
Barb.
Stony Hill Road. I hope it's on a repaving.
Okay.
Because as you go up,
Mm-hmm.
and then it makes a slight turn.
Yep.
Before it makes a turn, the last time they paved it, they messed it up. 'Cause
Okay.
It's like a washboard.
Okay. Barb, you writing that down? Okay.
And on the corner of Thorn Lane and North Country Road, the big white house, they ought to trim the hedge.
Okay. Visibility looking left.
I'm almost partially into the Speedway lane before I can see anything.
Okay. Thorn in North
Thorn
Country.
Lane, one of the forgotten streets in the village.
Have
of
you
Port
met
Jefferson.
Mark Robinson, Mr. Thorn Lane?
We have, I'm going to be out and about with our highway superintendent and our investigator from the building and planning department looking for just that type of thing on the corner, so I'll add that to my list as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
Take care, Margot.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Barbara Ransom, soon to be the EB.
Barbara Ransom, 409 East Broadway. I'm happy you rescind. And if the board wants to consider making this some kind of a public referendum for the future, I think that would be very advisable. I'm happy that you want input from the community. And my strong recommendation was if you want to go 4 years, which is reasonable. I mean, I understand the effort the clerk has to go through and all that. But I'm also very much strongly want term limitations. So it should be some type of a caveat. So if you're going to expand your terms to 4 years, it should be a caveat. Well, I would like to see then 2 terms, not necessarily 3, but whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Michael?
Thank you. Thank you. What was the vote tonight on rescinding? 5-0, 1? And, well, I have a couple of people to thank, I think. Stan, you're a trooper. Stan, you came out tonight after an operation. The community thanks you for that. Trustee Shepro, for bringing it to the attention on Facebook, what had happened. And I just had a couple of questions. Oh, and to the Port Times newspaper for reporting on it in an excellent way. And I just had a couple of questions because it caused a lot of consternation among many residents, myself included, how this happened in the first instance. A quick chronology as I understand it, that the Port Times legal notices on February 9th posted a public notice of the June 20th elections for mayor and 2 trustees positioned on ballot with each office having terms of 2 years.
Correct.
Okay. On March 20th, at your business meeting in Village Hall, which began at 3:30, towards the end of a long meeting, I understand, the mayor and trustees discussed and voted 5-0, to extend the terms of the office of village mayor and trustee from 2 to 4 years. This action item was not shown on the published agenda of this meeting. There was no planned date for a public hearing on this approved motion. So it wasn't on the agenda. For those of us who look at the agendas to find out what is of concern to you, which may be of concern to us, it wasn't there. But then it was not until March 30th issue of the Port Times was there a legal notice published regarding the extending the terms of office for trustees and the mayor to 4 years. I don't understand how the sequence of that. And now tonight, that's all gone.
So,
Please.
so the clerk published as required for the upcoming June election. The discussion came about as a result of the clerk's report to us on the meeting of March. What was the date of the meeting? March 18th? I can't remember.
20th.
Whatever the date of the meeting was. So, and it was organic in that she had mentioned that, you know, because we're not, meaning it wasn't an agenda item because there was no contemplated there wasn't a resolution that was premeditated, let's just say, or planned. So she gave her report that she'd be counting ballots by hand, and that, you know, again, we've been trying to get Suffolk County to give us machines for the June election, and they are not providing machines to us. And so she reiterated that, you know, this is going to be a concern, that the recommendation was to either move our elections from June to March, which would be next year, not this coming June. We could also extend the term from 2 to 4, so that way we don't have to have elections as frequently. And we engaged in probably a discussion that lasted. All of the board members engaged in a discussion. I went around the room and asked the people who were in attendance what their feelings were. After we considered all the legal ramifications, and we all seemed to be in agreement, and that's how that happened, 5-0. And then, you know, Raymond reported. Trustee Shepro, I guess, changed based on the information that she learned thereafter, put out her concerns, and we continued to hear from the public. And we said, listen, this is a big deal. Let's we honestly thought it was a good idea. So we rescinded, and we're going to let you folks, talk to us about it.
Okay.
And I think Barbara had to then, for legal notice purposes, she had to repost the notice based on that resolution, based on legal's advice, and that because that 4-year term would start with the next election, which would be the June election.
Yeah,
of course, that's right.
That was the troubling part, because, as I said, June 20th, it was 2 years. Then and then candidates came forward.
What do you mean by candidates came forward?
Candidates.
They're board members?
Keith Staden for mayor, and Stan for re-election, and Mr. Giuliano for trustee. And they were thinking at that time that it would be 2 years.
Yeah, but they all voted in favor, so Bob actually commented he was in favor as well when we asked him. He just left the room. I would have put him on the spot again.
But then it was 2 years. But as you said, it was worded specifically that each new 4-year term of office shall take effect at the position and time of the next village election, which was June 20th.
Right.
So they were going to be there for 4 years?
Ask them. Don't ask me.
No, but I mean,
what did you guys say?
That's the way the 5-0 vote went, right? Someone must have been thinking about that, though. It didn't just come out of the blue.
I can speak for myself and how how I came to the conclusion that I did in hearing from legal, and that our attorney explained to us what the procedure was. You know, obviously wanting to help out our village clerk, because that sounds like an extremely burdensome project for her. When he explained what the procedure was, that it was we voted on it and it was done, but it also gave the residents the ability to bring forth a permissive referendum. But wait a second. So with the permissive referendum, what is that? They have to get the signatures, and if they care about the issue, they'll bring it to us, and then they will have a say. So I said, to me, in my mind, this was the best of both worlds. We make the decision based on New York State Constitution that lays out, the procedure. And if it becomes an issue for the public, they'll let us know, and then they get the opportunity. So again, for me, it was a win-win. I don't see a problem with it. Everybody, after your poll in the room, seemed to think that makes more sense to help the residents, with their voter fatigue and not wanting to have an election every year. It just made sense to me at the time, again, because the ability for the residents to come forth and let us know. After that happened, and I heard from some residents and what the numbers were for them to bring forth the permissive referendum, that's when I said, that's burdensome. So I reached out to the mayor, I reached out to Stan, and I said, what are we going to do about this? Because that doesn't seem like it's doable, to be honest with you. So we've had discussions, and we talked about bringing it, tonight, and, considered rescinding and starting from scratch and, giving it to you guys to say to us what you want to do without the permissive part of it.
Right.
So that was my
part of the
thinking.
consideration also, Michael, is that, and we're going to get the breakdown at the next board meeting. A great number, and probably the majority of other townships and municipalities, and villages specifically, have their elections in March and have moved to 4-year terms. So, it's I think it's the direction that we may all agree to at some point, but we, obviously either a proposition on the election for you folks to pull, to make that decision yourself, or, forming a committee and to give us that support, or the next board that support is, where, we're taking pause, and that'll either happen as we continue to do business.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that, and thank you very much for that response.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And my understanding of it is that there are two prongs to it. One was the burden that's placed on the village clerk for an election.
Right.
Now, I don't know how it's done, but it was sort of reported as if the village clerk was there late at night counting the ballots.
That is correct.
I hope there was more than one person counting the ballots.
You can only have two. Oh, Barbara, you want to explain your process? At the last Board of Trustees election, where the top number was how many votes? 460. How many votes, Rebecca, did you get? 600 and what? 600 votes. So we're thinking that this is a mayor election, so it's going to be a good turnout. So what do you do, Barb?
I understand. Right, but there's someone else watching that. I mean, at this time, and you don't want to have that burden of who won. Oh, my candidate. You don't want that. Right. Yes. So I'm glad that that's been clarified. Everyone knows. No one was challenging that. It just seemed like one person doing it was too burdensome.
No, but she's
for
counting
legitimacy
every
as
ballot
well.
by hand. At the end, the ballots close. The doors close at 9 o'clock.
Right.
What time did you finish counting?
Okay. Yeah. I appreciate.
She'll be up all night.
Thank you for your work. No question. No doubt about that.
And
the
honestly,
second
Michael,
part of it.
I just wanted one more thing. We make so many decisions up here. You see it all, every week, twice a month. For you guys to want to take this on and discuss it and make a decision and bring it to us, please help us out with that, and that's wonderful. We love to hear from you.
The second part of the explanation as given here was that the burden for a permissive referendum was just uncanny, and it changed your mind. I'd like to point out that when the bluff issue came up on the bond, that same burden was there. But you didn't seem to find that in any way.
Because, Michael, 4 or 5 months had gone by. No, just let me answer that question. Several months had gone by, and we didn't hear that there was a correct, and so we had made a commitment. We had awarded the project. We had moved on with the work for the lower bluff. This happened within, a week.
Yeah, but the legal notice on the bluff.
So my point is, you would have to bring that permissive referendum within 30 days of the vote. So we're here every month doing our job. Our agendas are published, the minutes are approved, and
But on the bluff issue, it had the same burden, and there was no consideration of that, and we didn't have enough time or effort to be able to do it for a variety of reasons. But why does it apply here on this issue of tonight and not
Well,
on
because there's
another.
a very important election coming up.
Okay.
And, you know, I think the community is here tonight speaking to us, so we're honoring that, and
All right.
you know,
Well,
we
there's
want to
a-
respect that.
There's another village law, New York State Village Law, 9-990, that allows for you, as a board, to have, to vote for a referendum on your own motions and your own resolutions. So I implore you, as soon as possible, to consider that for the remainder of the bond issue required to satisfy the bluff issue. Thank you very much.
You're welcome,
Michael, can I add one more thing
Sure.
to what you were saying? It's sort of a three-pronged issue going on right now. And the third prong is what we didn't realize when we were meeting, and it really wasn't discussed holistically at the last meeting, was that whether or not there are voting machines available to rent or purchase. And since that meeting, the clerk has done some research and obtained a quote to purchase voting machines. And it's something that could be budgeted into the budget using the general fund next year because we have a surplus. I mean, we just heard about the surplus. It's a cost of about $28,000 all in with
For two
people
machines.
and for two machines that we would own going forward into perpetuity, not needing to change the date if that is not something that the community would like to see. So that's an option. The other option, which we could do this year for this election, so that the clerk does not have to hand count all the votes, is rent machines. As long as they're approved as certified machines by the Board of Elections, the Suffolk County Board of Elections, we have that option available to us. That is a one-time cost of approximately $11,000. And I don't have it documented in writing right now, but I do know that two other municipalities are using these machines this June, Southampton and Ocean Beach. So that's another option. So either way, if we went with either one of those options, there would be no need to ask the clerk to stay into the wee hours of the morning hand counting votes under the, pressure of any kind of contested election under her,
And
stressors.
the caveat, the key statement is so long as they're certified and supported by the Suffolk County Board of Elections.
Okay. So out of what appeared to be rushed and chaos came now efficiency and democracy. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm not going to make a statement after that, but I just want to say how good it is to see Mary
Oh,
at our meeting tonight. So it's good to see you, Mary. Thank you.
Good for me to see her.
Good to be seen. Myrna.
Marina, before you speak, can I just add one more thing to the
Mm,
responding?
Yes? Okay, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Please.
I just want to say that this past week, 2 weeks, has been democracy in action. It's been a humbling experience being on this board, and over the years, I've just realized we are politicians, as public servants. We are people. We're people, and every person is flawed, and every person can be celebrated most for their ability to learn and grow and listen to the people they are serving. So I just want to thank the public for coming out and letting us know as your representatives what you felt about a decision we made, and also applaud the board for all coming back and saying, you know what, they're right, and let's go about this differently. So that's my statement.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you. Myrna Gordon, Rustic Road, Port Jefferson. I want to thank the decision that was made tonight with the board on rescinding the item that has brought so many people here. I had wished that a year ago that we had had an opportunity to have a voice on what was happening with the bluff. That was a $10 million issue that the residents of this village never had an opportunity to vote on. I think Michael and I, over a year ago, were the only ones who possibly came to a village meeting and voiced our concern about not having resident input on a vote that is so important. As far as the bluff goes, I have a question, and maybe hopefully somebody can answer it. When I walk there and I walk down to the tow line, to the new, what is it, 400-foot barrier that was put up, I see over 400 or 500 more feet of exposed bluff that does not have the toe wall. And that erosion goes all the ways up to the top of the hill. And I'm saying to myself, how is the wall that's there going to prevent all the other erosion that might happen because there's no barrier there at all? So I don't understand it.
And that's a great question, and you need to ask the DEC that question, because our original proposal called for that wall extending all the way down. And they were the ones who said you can only build it to the extent that you see it today. So what we're doing at the top, and that's the God's honest truth, can show you the original application to the DEC and the 5 years it took for them to give us a decision. Did a lot of damage to this community, and they've heard me say that directly to them. So the tow line, the wall exists where the DEC permitted us to build it. And what we're doing at the top, where you still see that there's some exposure, is leveling out the top so you don't have those extreme sloughing or opportunities where you have chunks of earth falling down. So you'll see that work is going on right now at the top.
It's just beyond my scope to see how that is going to be preventable for that 400 or 500 feet extension, because it's an enormous situation, and it's something that I think all of us should really have an opportunity to see and to, you know.
I was told after on the break that there's a book downstairs where you can see weekly reports that the engineering firm is providing to this community. I'm told those reports were shared with the Recreation Committee the other night. So, and you know, it's awesome to watch, and it's an amazing thing, and it's going to be a beautiful way to secure our beach line. And after we got hit with Irene, a nor'easter, and then Sandy, you know, we had to rebuild the wall to protect the parking lot and the East Beach as you see it today. And you know, I'm going to say it, at the time that we were armoring our beach to that effect, DEC didn't like it either. But I'm committed to making sure this community has access to their beaches. And without that roadway, we will not have access to miles and miles and miles of beach. So, and hopefully in the long run, this community will see that that is in the best interest of preserving our beaches and for decades to come. And I hope that you and I can have that conversation 10 years from now over coffee, Myrna.
Thank you, Margot.
You're welcome.
Another thing I want to just make mention of, last month I came here and I made the suggestion and I handed out environmentally friendly single container receptacles. I'm not sure if you have had any discussion about this type of a policy being implied or not implied, but used at our three Village Hall, the Village Center, and the Turn, to take into consideration that we need to be gearing towards single-use non-plastic containers. And I'm hoping that you were able to look at the containers that I brought in, and plus the plastic utensils, the bamboo utensils, and see what could really be happening in this community on a very small scale.
Myrna, we're doing it one better. We're not giving out any containers for our water machine at the country club. You bring your own, or you don't get a drink. We're not giving out any styrofoam cups, period.
So I also, Kelly Devine, who's a member of the CAC Conservation Advisory Committee, a committee that Rebecca chairs. Unfortunately, Rebecca was touring the lovely country of Ireland.
Actually, on that day, I was speaking at a women's leadership summit at my university.
Even better. We toured the Maggio's transfer station in Yaphank and the recycling center in West Babylon. She has her neon vest to prove it. And she's, you know, I think we're going to be trying to do a lot more local legislation to see what impacts we can do throughout, because it's going to be very interesting the
It's
next few years.
changing a mindset in our
Mhm.
village. It's changing a mindset in our village meetings, sitting around a table, providing paper types of cups, paper types of facilities. So if on a small scale you can do this, I really thank you very much for taking this initiative and moving it forward, especially with an issue that is really affecting the entire world, not just our community. And this is really, really important, which leads me to my next thing that I want to bring up, and it does have to do with the environment. For those, I want to also thank Port Jefferson Village, because for those of you who don't know, over Memorial Day weekend, the village has approved an amazing ship to come into our harbor. And I would like to invite everybody to come down over Memorial Day weekend and visit and
It's like a grand announcement here.
This was-
and visit
oh.
and visit, and it's like an alien ship's going to land on us. What's
and,
going on?
and I want to thank the board. I want to thank Barbara for doing so much to bring this happening. It's the name of the ship is a Veterans for Peace Golden Rule, and it is the first environmental ship that was ever built in the 1950s to take upon themselves. This was before Greenpeace. It's going to be in our harbor for about 4 days. It's docking here on Friday, May 26th at approximately 5 o'clock, and it will have its sails up. It will be in New York City 10 days before that, and Port Jefferson Harbor is the harbor that they chose, with a little bit of push from me, to come in and spend their 4 days there. However, Captain Kiko, on a Zoom call not too long ago, was not sure of the composition of our village. Did we have a mayor? Did we have what type of? And I said, yes, we do have a mayor. And he asked me to
hoist me up on the mast. Oh
we
my
will
God.
not do that.
What's happening now, Myrna?
We will not do that. But I would like to invite the
A plank.
trustees and people in the community here to come down to be part of the welcoming committee.
Of course.
And Margot, he wanted me to extend to you a personal invitation for Friday, May 26th, to come down and see this amazing vessel for peace and
Of
vessel
course.
for the environment. It's a Veterans for Peace ship.
It's a beautiful, tall ship.
Thank you very much for
Thank
doing
you,
that.
Myrna.
Thank you, Myrna. And Myrna and/or Barbara, can you send me that information so I can make sure CEC has it and,
course.
And help get all that?
On another note, it was first sailed by Quakers. And so
Barb.
we have a lot of groups that are so excited in our community who are going to take part in this educational
Great.
visit. Thank you.
We're very happy to have the vessel come and visit. Stephen. And I'll get to the. Good night, Gerard.
Steve Velasquez, 208 East Broadway. Three things. Two were on public safety. One is I heard Deputy Mayor Snaden talk about roads. East Broadway, as the summer heats up, so do the speed limits. I've seen this past weekend on the board 70 miles per hour coming down the hill. So that's kind of excessive. And the other one was coming down into the village from Route 112, where the new building is being constructed. A few nights, well, actually 2 weeks ago, somebody came across, and the roadway doesn't exactly line up there. And with those new residents, I would hate to see someone get hit, because the roadway to the south is slightly skewed off. So
What intersection, Steve, is that?
that is, it's 112 and North Country.
Oh, okay.
When you're in the lane to go straight, if you were to go straight, you'd be
Oh,
up
right,
in the
right.
sidewalk. So, yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't know
19, I think.
if possibly while they're doing that construction, they could
Okay.
resolve that issue. And last off is aesthetics of the village. I do know that the Lobster House has been torn down, which everybody knows, and a new building is going up there. But the new building, to my thought, is it's a very modern structure, and I think that you, as a mayor, could possibly intervene and ask them to possibly soften it to a more nautical theme somehow. You know, it's just right now, it's in the planning stages, I'm sure. The glass, unless they've already
No,
purchased the glass.
that unfortunately, that project's been approved for
Yes, yeah.
probably 18 months now.
I realize that, but.
The ARC
If I
could.
can- I'm a liaison to the ARC, and that was brought before that committee. Multiple changes were recommended. The ARC is an advisory committee. It's not a board, so they can make recommendations to the planning board. And a lot of the recommendations made were to do just that.
Okay.
So it has gotten better from the initial proposals, including that tower and the I call them Juliet balconies. I don't know if there's another special term to kind of make it look nautical. That was kind of the look they were going for. So, you know, the ARC will recommend, you know, different trim and moldings and color schemes, and they worked very, very hard on that design to get it to where it is now. So, yeah.
And additionally, as new buildings, Conifer 2 is soon coming before the planning board, is currently in front of the planning board, Kathy-Ann? There will be a public hearing for, you know, a presentation about any new apartment building, and that's a great time for the public to let their voices be heard. And, you know, the planning board, again, is made up of your fellow residents. I don't know if Barbara Sabatino is in here today?
Wow.
All right.
Barbara
Well,
missed the meeting.
she's, anyway, you usually have, you know, a representative in-house here, but, you know, that's a great time to view the project and let your voice be heard before any decisions are made.
Thank you very much.
Any of those meetings are open to the public. The ARC meetings are open to the public, and also even the planning board work sessions, so you can kind of see what's going on or what's coming down the pike. And I always, you know, welcome residents to come and hear and know what's going on firsthand. So if you want any of those dates, please let me know, and I'll get those to you.
Thank you very much.
You're
Can
welcome.
I just add one thing that we voted on in our work session today, that was voted on in the work session today, and that was to set a public hearing date of May 1st at 6 p.m. to amend Chapter 250, Section 25015 of the Village Code to add standards for the multifamily development in the modern density resident district as a conditional use. In other words, they're seeking to have there has been a vote to have a public hearing on May 1st to hear about new standards that will allow multifamily developments in moderate density residences. And the property they're talking about is the Maryhaven property, which is right now zoned for professional office use. But there is some sort of, I don't know, workaround where it can be, and this is beyond my expertise, but I was just hearing our village planning and building department director talking about it in the meeting today, that it's eligible to be altered to RM, which I'm guessing is
There are
residential.
sections of the PO code that speak to the RM code that point to this other section. So we'll hear the recommendation from the attorneys, because I think what they're trying to do is clear up that confusion as this applicant is prepared to make an application. So thankfully, they're bringing a legislative request to this legislative body, which we don't always get from the building and planning department. So you'll hear more about that as soon as we hear it. We'll post it, and we'll have the background information on it.
Thank you again. And just on a departing note, since you had mentioned that, if possible, is it possible to see that condos are added in so that home ownership is locked in some of these new locations, not just rentals?
Yes,
Absolutely.
that's actually.
Thank you very much.
That's what they were proposing for that site initially, and I've always said I would prefer, especially in that area, ownership versus rentals.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stephen. I have the woman in the back of the room. Please come forward. Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know your first name yet. I apologize.
My name is Holly Fizeme, and I live at 116 Belterre Road, near Barbara. I want to thank Myrna for bringing up the question of single-use plastics.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, obviously, for the offices. It could be actually, maybe I'm thinking in the future, for village events, such as things held at the Red Building and so on. I'm also president of Eco League, which is a small environmental organization in Port Jefferson. We have 4 members here today.
I'm sorry, what's the name of it?
Eco League.
Eco League.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's, We're hoping to do a lot of work with the different cafes and restaurants. There's a group called BYO. I'm going to be going to one of their Zoom meetings tomorrow, and it's going to be hopefully nationwide, where restaurants and cafes can get a sticker on their door showing that they accept, bring in containers, your own container. They won't force you to take a paper or plastic cup or anything like that. So that's one thing that we're working on, and we like to work on maybe getting the businesses in, the BID to all think about ways in which they could cut back on waste, even wasting electricity and water and so on. There's so many experts out there that can help you with that. And I think we all would feel better about not seeing dumpsters full of plastic everywhere.
Yeah.
And even Maggio's, I talked to them because I wondered why Brookhaven recycles number 5 plastic, but Maggio's doesn't. And I think there's some things that they could improve. I haven't, I'm not an expert and I haven't talked to them about it, but if some places can do it, probably they could do it too.
So I'm interested in the BYO.
Mhm.
I'm the liaison to the Business Improvement District.
Okay, cool.
So I'd like to get your information after the meeting, and maybe you could come make a presentation to the bid meeting
Is she
Okay.
connected with
on
you guys
that
at all?
subject.
Sure, it might be a little soon for me to do it because I'm only getting the information
And yeah,
on
hold
Tuesday,
on.
but
Point,
we'll see.
point of order.
Sure.
Rebecca,
Yeah.
is is the CAC meeting with the Eco League, or are you guys
So yeah, I was
one and
going
of the
to
same?
invite when you're ready, Holly,
Mhm,
to
sure.
present to the CAC would be great, and also we have Barbara Ransom from the Chamber of Commerce. The chamber meets monthly, and that's a lot of our restaurateurs, business owners. So there's a lot of venues, and again, the village will be considering policy moving forward. Again, I was just at an event at my university, and they had all sustainable single-use
Wonderful.
items. I think that this is a trend with the market trend. It's also really helpful because prices are coming down for these bamboo and alternative
Exactly.
plastics. So this is a great time, to have nonprofit groups, resident groups, governments, everyone. Hopefully we get the students involved and just come at it from
Right.
every angle and find something that works for everybody.
I feel like the students are the easy part because I work in a store on East Main Street, the jewelry store, Pattern Finders, and I always say, "You don't want a bag, do you?" And my students are like, "No, no, no." The students are all, no bags, and everyone else says, "Yes, I'd like one of those bags." So they're paper, but I do think it's really just changing habits. It's not difficult. It's just changing habits. Like, we used to think we had to have plastic bags at the grocery store. We don't.
Right.
And you can just carry stuff to your car if you have to.
Excellent. So we look forward to working with you. Just
Yes,
please reach
I'd
out
love
to
that.
myself, Trustee Sneeden, when you have a presentation ready, and we'll definitely facilitate these.
Great. I'm also vice president of the Civic Association. So we're hoping that all these groups can work together.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you,
Holly.
everyone.
Nice to meet you. I'm going to go to Ray Calabrese, then I'll come back up to Anna. I like that T-shirt.
Ray Calabrese, 306 Myrtle Avenue. It's the red house in the corner. I'm sitting back there and I'm looking at this wall and I'm saying there's something wrong with this picture.
Where's your Jefferson painting?
The flag's on the wrong side.
Oh.
The American flag always belongs to the right, the place of honor, not the left, a sinistra.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
There's one over
I'll
there.
do some research on it and I'll give it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Anna. I have two flags. I don't know why I have two flags.
I want to thank the Board of Trustees for rescinding the resolution on the term extension. And we, as the newly elected president of the Civic Association, we've received quite a significant feedback on the issue. And as I wrote in the initial email to the board, the Civic Association didn't take a stance on whether it should be 2 or 4 years, but really took objection to the fact that such an important issue, which doesn't have a clear-cut solutions. It's not just like it's better to have 4 versus 2 because there are cons and pros of both sides, was taken without any public debate. And I fully appreciate the fact that this was fully within your legal rights to make that resolution. However, what animated the formation of the civic association isn't just because I agitated around to make that happen, but because there were quite a significant feedback that felt that the Board of Trustees functioned fully within its legal rights, but probably overstepping the democratic engagement, or not, or underdoing the democratic engagement that could happen in the village. For example, the question of the bond that is passed for the bluff, we can disagree or agree whether that was a necessary measure. However, there was no robust debate about different alternatives. And over the months that you have had your board meetings, it came to light that there are many solutions, potential solutions, that could be engaged on the question of the bluff. And it is great sadness to us that we have not had a chance to debate potential solutions and came to a conclusion that might benefit the village to the greater extent, such as the fact that DC denied the extension of the wall. There must be a reason for that. Is there anything that we could have done as a community debating that solution that could have potentially yielded a better outcome for the future? Again, as the board, as a civic association, we don't take a stance whether or not the wall should have been built.
Understood.
It's the question of the process in that. And some of the questions that have been raised by the people who currently attend these civic association meetings, we don't have members as of yet because we're still forming. We don't have a bank account. As a result, we can't accept membership dues. As a result, we don't have formal members just yet. But the questions are, how do we manage the change between the 2 and 4 years? Do we have 2 years when we have back-to-back elections, and then we have 2 years with no elections? We didn't receive any meaningful discussion on that, or there is no resolution in the, for example, in the legal notice that there will be 4 terms. How do we manage the transition? There were questions about, will the term limits be discussed? Is that something that needs to be addressed? What are the costs and logistics of renting versus purchasing the voting machines? And the most important to us is how to improve the voter turnover, because it's not just the question of just posting that we have elections. I've reported to you after my run for the trustee last year that one of the biggest challenges that I've encountered was the voter apathy, because they believe that nothing matters in what they have to say. So they basically check out of the village politics. And I very much hope that in the coming years, we would have a chance to collaborate with the Board of Trustees in increasing the voter turnout and increasing the trust that the voters and the residents have in the elected officials.
Thank you, Anna. When did you move to Port Jeff?
2018.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen?
Hi, Kathleen McLean, 2 Rosita Lane, and I'm just want to say that as the outreach officer for the newly instituted, I was not drinking, Port Jeff Civic Association. I wanted to let everyone know that we will have a public meeting April 12th. Our meetings will be on, I think it's the second Wednesdays or the third? Second Wednesdays, and the next one's April 12th at the library, and this one will be at 7:30. And then we have a second one that's scheduled for May 10th, and for that we would really love to have all of the Board of Trustees and anyone who's running for office to come and introduce themselves and have a say.
Thank you. Okay. Appreciate that.
The May 10th meeting is also 7:30 at the library?
That one I believe is at 7 o'clock. Is that correct?
Library? You always meet at the library?
We always meet at the library, and it's usually at 7 o'clock, but for some scheduling purpose at the library this time, it was 7:30 for the April 12th meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks for the invitation. Zena?
Zena Ugrinsky to Rosita Lane. First of all, it's heartwarming to have come for 6 months now, and to the Board of Trustees meetings. Thank you for being open about that. But it's really great to see a full house here for the first time since I've been paying attention. I've been in the village for 10 years, and I guess I have one question related to process, and that is, as you guys are considering things that are on the agenda, is there a criteria that you use in order to determine whether to make a decision and make it final in-house, meaning within a working session? Or what is the criteria for bringing something to the public?
Usually, you took a twist at the end of that. Jonathan, I think the only thing that, requires us to bring something would be something that requires a public hearing. So the open meetings law requires our meetings anytime there's more than 3 board members in a together conducting business. We're guided by New York State's open meetings law, but the things that we vote on are hiring, anything that requires an expenditure approval pursuant to the comptroller's office and our purchasing policies. But this is transparency here. This is not required by laws. This is we have our public meetings to engage with the public. So, Jonathan, have I answered that?
Absolutely. No, that's completely speaking very, very, very broadly. Both the open meetings law and the New York State Village law enumerate things which need to be brought to public hearing, but there are certain more, I don't want to say trivial, but more minor aspects of day-to-day governance which don't necessarily have to be brought to a public hearing.
So the things on the business agenda are things that we must vote on, but there's, we have conversations, sometimes too many on a daily basis, but, there's a lot of things that happen. So is there something, I see that you're developing the question further.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Yes, I have been scouring sort of the village. Yes, unfortunately, this is not what I really want to be doing for bedtime reading, but and I totally understand that the day-to-day business, absolutely, this is what we put our trust in you guys to take care of every day, right? But it feels that if a decision either exceeds a certain dollar amount, or, the bluff, for example, right? Or there's an impact to a legislative change that would require citizens weighing in, that would be an important thing for us to at least have some visibility into.
Correct.
So, and the second thing is, and perhaps this is because I haven't found it yet, but it would be really interesting for me to understand what the process is for bringing something to a public hearing. What does the public need to do for you to make that decision?
Give me an example. So I just want to, I don't know about, you said something that really caught my ear. You've lived here for 10 years, but you've been engaged for the last 6 months. Exactly. I have been talking about the bluff. For those of you who've been attending these meetings, I've been talking about the erosion, the bluff, the DEC, the application, the grant, I think for 8 years. This didn't happen overnight. So, for me, and I love the engagement that, we're just trying to protect our village assets, and we engage you this way. And our doors are always open. You email us, I email you back. You want a meeting, we schedule a meeting. There's nothing really that requires us to have public hearings. You're having an open process with the 6-acre park. We're doing a workshop at the next board meeting. We're looking for input. That's my genuine answer, but I mean, only if it's something that requires a public hearing. Otherwise, we will do a public workshop. We'll bring something to your attention. We've talked about the master plan. We've done uptown revitalization. We've done a lot of big projects. We did charrettes to involve the public in those opportunities. I don't know what the next big thing will be, but I'm sure there will be one.
So I'd like to jump in here. I have always implored residents to stay plugged in. I often post when meetings are or topics that are coming up. The reason I started the e-report was because I'd come to the board meetings and there'd be a handful of people here. So much gets done at these meetings and work sessions, and there'd be a few people here to hear it. So the e-report is pretty much, it started as take what we do here, put it in a message, and get it right to people's inboxes so they will see what's going on. And then to jump on top of that, a lot of people said, well, the time's not good, the day's not good. So that's when I worked with Kevin to say, let's live stream this, bring it to their living rooms like we did during COVID. If we can do it then, we can do it now. And I'm constantly telling people, come to a meeting, come to a meeting, come to a meeting. Because of and you can help me with my terminology, when there is a big issue and it's put on for a public hearing, I ask you guys to, read those in the newspaper. They have to be published a certain number of days ahead of time so you can see what's going on and then come to that specific meeting if you can't make them all. So I think the information is there on different levels, whatever way you like to receive that communication. Pick one and, keep on it and stay plugged in, and then you'll be, able to pick and choose what issues are important to you and come to us. And my door is always open. Like I said, I always love the face-to-face and, over coffee or a diner breakfast or whatever it might be to hear what people have to say and their concerns. But other than those ways, I think those are all good ways to stay plugged in, to hear what's going on and bring it to us, just like, happened here, the newspaper. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and given I will recognize or acknowledge to Margot that to Mayor that it's really been sort of the last 6 months that I've been plugging in, but I have been a little challenged with transparency, right? Trying to sort of feel my way around, and if I'm having that problem, then I think the general population is. And I would love to work with you on maybe some things that would advance transparency in a way that might make it easier for people to really have a voice. And
sure.
Obviously, I expect the Civic Association to be sort of organizing for that as well and, participating.
That's fine.
And then my last thing is there a choice between Optimum?
No.
Why? Who likes Optimum? Okay.
So that's above the village of Port Jefferson's pay grade. We at one point had Verizon here, I want to say about 8 years ago, because they were looking for a franchise agreement with the village, and they were laying the infrastructure of the LAN. They decided about 8 years ago to abandon laying any more infrastructure because they were focusing on the 5 boroughs and the more densely populated areas so they could make more coin. I imagine, I don't know why, but we're hearing this more and more because Optimum's customer service, we had Mr. Coburn in here with a petition about a year ago. It's a big concern, but we got to go to our state senator. We got to go up the chain.
I'm sorry. I thought it was just maybe a Harbor Hills kind of thing because Belterre has it, and I know numerous people in Port Jeff who have Verizon. So
again, they stopped laying the land. They got to lay the cable. They got to provide the infrastructure to support an account in your neighborhood.
They laid it on our block.
Well, I
don't
know why.
Who do I?
I don't know, Barbara. Who are we going to call?
Public Service Commission.
Yeah, I was told we can't offer it to the village unless we offer it to the entire village, and because the infrastructure is not through the entire village. This was what happened.
Yeah.
with the franchise agreement. But so, yeah, I think we're talking different
Yeah.
levels of what Verizon is offering.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's a landline. I don't know if it's internet service. I don't know if I don't have.
Yeah, I'm just voicing my own personal frustration at feeling like I'm being held hostage.
So the Public Service Commission.
Let's write a letter. Why don't you get? We'll all join in that petition.
Zena, the New York State Public Service Commission is the oversight regulatory body over the internet and cable service providers. When I was living in the shipyard, I got FiOS, and it was internet service only, and that's all I really needed. But if you're wanting the cable network and channels and whatnot, there are other options through the FiOS services that you can actually access some additional channels on. But between calling FiOS, Optimum, or Altice, and also the Public Service Commission are governor-appointed positions. They're appointees up in New York State. That's who you want to talk to about that, potentially.
Okay. I'd love to have further dialogue with you on that. And
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks, Zena.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just gonna.
UGRINSKY.
Just going to quick piggyback on the mayor had shared. I was rushing my own report in favor of giving y'all more time. But so next public meeting is Tuesday, the 18th of this month at 3 o'clock. It starts with a presentation by Johnson Controls, who's coming in they have done an assessment of the village to see what kind of energy savings and maybe solar, things like this. So they'll present to the board and the public in attendance. And then at 3:30 is the 6-acre park committee will be sitting with the Board of Trustees to look at the schematics, 3 schematics that the firm we hired to collect information from the 6-acre park committee and the Board of Trustees to see what they might like for the 6 acres of parkland up on off of Highlands Boulevard near the train station. So the public is more than welcome to look at those schematics. The 6-acre park and the Board of Trustees will make comment, and then those 3 schematics will end up going towards one, and that will be represented. So please feel free to attend. That's your draw for the next meeting. If you didn't get enough tonight.
Thanks, Rebecca. We had Kathleen, but then I have Kelly Devine and Michael. Guys, it's 8:15. Let's go. Come on, Kathleen. No, but I have to use the ladies' room. I seriously. I could take a break and come back, or else you could jump in this chair.
Kathleen Riley, 17 Leeward Lane. I just have to say that the experience I've had during this meeting, I've been one of those people that has been one of the few that has been coming for the last over 10 years, twice a month. And my main thing is beautification and preservation, but also for everything that goes on in this village. And what I have witnessed as far as these people that are sitting up here and the amount of work that they do and have to handle, it's unfortunate that just in the last, couple of months or whatever just happened, now people are coming forward. It's unfortunate that you haven't seen what I've seen through my eyes for the last 10 years.
Thank you, Kathleen. Appreciate that. Kelly.
Kelly Devine, 119 Jane Avenue. When we were talking about the issue of the elections, and there's so many multiple factors that go into voter turnout, I always think back to the 1800s when we had really high levels of voter turnout because you got free beer. And I'm not suggesting we go back to that, but if anybody is as old as I am, they remember that liquor stores and bars were all closed on Election Day, and that's why, because they were trying to overcome
the days of Tammany Hall?
The days of Tammany Hall. Yeah. Excellent turnout. So I'm not saying we go back to that, but I am curious, as someone who has lived in other states where we have far fewer elections, and they all happen on one day in one place. So maybe this is actually a question to you, sir, I know I've heard dates, we've got June and then March was mentioned. Why not November?
New York State law.
I'm just curious.
New York State. I'm going to mess this up, I know. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, so the New York State village law is what kind of governs, or what does govern, the elections for villages, incorporated villages in the state, section 9900 if you want to look it up, but it does constrain us to either June or March. So unfortunately, we don't have that leeway. If we did, we would have probably considered that, but that is where we stand.
Then we wouldn't have to rent a machine, because the machine would already.
And
Exactly.
you have to add in, too, the school board elections, which are in May, and their budget. So you have May and June and November, and then there was the bond vote in December. So the fire department, it's,
The library.
see,
Oh, thanks. That's a public service notice.
there you go. So, yeah, I agree with you,
I didn't
but
know.
our hands are tied on that one, yeah.
Come on, Michael. Please. That's. Can I? Yeah. Okay. So.
Very, very quickly, if I may, 2 quick suggestions to increase attendance, the potential for attendance at these meetings. Change the hour of the public meeting from 6 to 7 or later, as it was, say 7, and allow us to address you first. Secondly, with regard to New York Village Law, there's New York Village Law, I mentioned this earlier, 9-908. I know Mr. Egan is aware of this. And what it is, by title, referendum on acts or resolutions of the Board of Trustees without petition. Without, you said that the petition was arduous, if not impossible. You have the right to give us the vote on the bluff and other issues of your own. Please do it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Michael. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you for attending. Thank you very much.